So today on the bench we have a DeWalt 20 volt max DCD996. This is the hammer drill driver, and it is not working properly. Have a known good battery, and not even the light is coming on, as you see here. So we're going to start with a T10 Torx bit, and we're going to start taking off this housing. We'll be right back. So we do have some line-up pins here to pop loose in the case, and the brushless motor sticker in the back. Either you got to peel it up or cut it. I'm probably going to cut it. And there's our first look inside of the brushless motor and the controller. And we do have a lot of corrosion on this bottom board for sure. But they potted the controller itself very well. I will say that's the first drill I've worked on that had the wire going into the chuck. Whether that's a feedback sensor, I am not sure at this point. And here we go, we're housing free. So I'm gonna unplug this connector here, set the chuck and the gearbox assembly aside, as well as the housing out of the way and the screws. And let's take a closer look at this. Corrosion is definitely terrible. And I don't want to say incorrectly, but at this time I don't believe this board, being the LED light board, would even cause an issue with the drill not coming on. So I'll just disconnect that and put it aside. Nothing. I'm definitely going to be letting this board sit in some vinegar and let the corrosion be cleaned off, and then I'll go back and do some 99% isopropyl alcohol and clean it up. At least we'll get this board back in good shape, but I don't think it's affecting our main issue. I can see why the light wasn't coming on, but I don't think it's our main issue. This is like a 2017 model here. We're just going to have to dig into it some more. So the motor actually feels fine and nothing obviously burnt, but I'm just gonna make sure we have close to 0 ohms, 0 continuity between the 3 output phases of this BLDC motor. 0.7, 0.5, so yep, the windings are good. This is your feedback device, either optical encoder or either like a Hall sensor. The connector doesn't look corroded or anything, so, and I don't believe it will cause it to not have any output. I can see how it would fault out and stop, but I don't believe it would cause it to just no output. So. Well, the very first thing I did was start moving some of this silicone and believe it or not, I think the first thing I found was a fuse, and it was already loose. And some of you that don't watch my channel may think that I pride on that, and that's fine. When you're digging around, that happens sometimes, but I pride on a good many of these, especially ego boards and stuff, and I definitely didn't pry hard at all. They just started bumping up as soon as I touched it. So I'm just going to keep digging here and we'll be right back. Still got a ways to go here. So that's taken a little while, but we cleaned the board up better. Of course, got it out of the housing here. Now I'm going to go out to the garage and actually clean this up a little better with some plastic safe contact cleaner and a little brush. And we'll be right back to take a closer look at it. So back now after cleaning this board up, we get a lot better look at what's going on. These look like the heat sinks going across those MOSFETs. That's like the QFN type package. Real similar to the three-phase BLDC driver that we worked on several times, made by Ego. I can't get the part number off to be for certain on that, but they look very similar. And the way they did the heat sink's kind of neat. I also believe those two small control fuses that I got off, they have a V rating on them, if we can see there. V is typically a 3.5 amp fuse. So those two are more than likely just control fuses, obviously, for the control circuit. And even though I really couldn't find the large, I would say like 20 to 30 amp fuse probably feeding this, as I look here closer, hopefully you can see this with a magnifying glass, that looks like a heat sink on a two-legged device there. It looks like a little solder pad like this one, but upon further inspection that one is different. And that one does seem to have two legs, like it's a fuse. I thought that was kind of interesting. And that does ohm well, so. And one thing I'm going to do real quick is just go across with a diode check across these here, these 6 MOSFETs. And of course going across, this is the positive rail, the negative rail it seems. We get like a diode junction there, so that's good. No phase is shorted, even though of course our motor windings are showing like a circuit there. I can actually do it right here, probably better on camera. 0.6, 0.6, 0.5, 0.6, yep. So what I'm gonna do, I don't find anything wrong on the power side, at least nothing shorted, but I am starting to wonder if those fuses did get warm enough to come off the board a little bit. Because I hit one a little harder than the other, but they both kind of tombstoned on me and popped up. So if it makes sense, one of them you can tell that I pulled on, and the on this one right here, for example, up top, it looks like that was actually a solder removal, like with heat. It didn't actually tear us, and it's not shiny, so I believe we may have lost our control 12 volts just to our control circuit. So I'm just going to pop these back in and we'll test it out. Of course, both these small V fuses, they did check good. I can't remember if I actually showed that on camera or not at this point, but I assure you they are good. Going to put some flux on here. Just make sure that I get a little bit of solder on these pads and it's taking okay. One of the first ones that lifted up on me, it don't look like that pad's wanting to take. There it goes. It took that time. May have had a film and deposit on it. Did that happen at the factory? I don't know. Got that one side tacked. Let's see if we can get this other side. Put just a little bit of solder on the tip there. One down. At least this next one will be a little bit easier, because this one here is just easier to get to on the outside here. It's gonna go like so. Clean this tip up just a little bit. Put some fresh solder on the tip here. With some extra flux on the pads. I think that's got it. We'll try it out. And after I clean these contact points up, I am going to put some electrical grease on these pads to give it some lubrication, and also put some on our contact points here after we cleaned it off with some alcohol on our forward reverse selector as well. I'm gonna see if it'll run without this. It might not. We'll try it and see. And of course, without the light module. Look up there. I like it. I like it a lot. Sweet. So I actually don't need that to run. That's interesting. So before I put this together, of course, I got to clean up everything, including this board that had a lot of corrosion on it. At this point, I still have some white vinegar just sitting on there trying to eat the corrosion up. And it's been a tremendous amount loosened up in there. Of course, before we're done, we're definitely going to use the 99% alcohol and clean all the vinegar itself off, because it can also be corrosive if left on some of these components. But it sure does help with the corrosion. Still got a long ways to go, but it's cleaning up really well. So back now, after cleaning this up as good as I can, we're looking at putting this back together. So one thing that I believe happened with the speed control was that it was used under a heavy load, and it's got really hot. And the cool thing about DeWalt is their thermal management here is very good. These probably became basically like heaters, and I believe even the trace got so hot, even though this is just a thought, I believe those fuses got so hot that they actually tombstone. And as I was going through taking a layer off, like similar to this layer here, it's very thin, so it's not holding very well. And I believe it heated up enough just to lift up. And surprisingly, they tested good. We put them back in there. And the only thing we done other than that was the pad on the variable speed control input. They were a little bit dirty, but I don't believe that was stopping it from functioning, even though I cleaned it up while I was cleaning up the rest of it with some of the plastic safe electrical parts cleaner. It was dirty right in this area, so it still would have worked as you got on back and further towards higher RPM. So I don't believe it was that at all. I believe it was truly that those fuses lifted up. So just thought I would share that because this might be a freak thing, and it definitely seems like it is. But just in case this happens to somebody else, it's not that difficult to do. It's painstaking to kind of get to it all. And just for that reason, I'm not going to put the silicone potting back in it. If I ever need to do that again, it's going to be a lot easier to get to. So, and it was interesting that it ran on test without the sensor. It's got some kind of I guess RPM or rotation sensor built in to the gearbox section. And I guess that does give it feedback or trim on power, but it doesn't affect the actual motor running, so that's cool. So after letting this board set in alcohol, we'll get it out and let it dry out, and we'll test it out. But this is what it looks like now after being cleaned up well. You can tell the corrosion definitely started eating up some traces. There's a lot of pitting on those solder joints, like on the resistors and stuff, so at least it's not a lot to this board other than different resistors. Just changing the intensity of that light output. So looks like we have a diode here. After it's done dried off a little bit, let's test it out. See if our light comes on. It does. Cool. I think it's ready to put back together. We did put some more grease on this gear on the output of the motor because I did sling some of it off testing. Let's put a couple screws in it. We'll try it out. We'll put the rest of the screws in it. We'll be right back. So I hope you found this video helpful today looking inside of this DeWalt DCD996. We found what may be an unusual issue with it, but if it helps you out, please let us know in the comments. And if the video earned it today, please give us a like, share, and subscribe. And thanks for watching. And guys, I'll have some links to some tools and some of my favorite things on the bench here. Some of them's Amazon or eBay links. Those affiliate links do help support the channel, so if you want to check any of those out, it'll be greatly appreciated. Thanks for your support, and thanks for watching.